Good morning. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to Financial Lovemaking. This is where we talk about love, life, money, and everything in between. I'm here with my buddy, partner, and co-host, the Ebony Magazine Entertainment Director, Miss S. Tia Brown. How you doing today, Tia?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really well, really well. Now, I need you to just give me something to talk about today. What we're going to talk about? What we're going to talk about?
Well, the topic that's been on a lot of tongues of my friends and coworkers is this new show on VH1 called Sorority Sisters. I'm not sure if you heard about it. Sorority Sisters
Yes.
is the show. Oh, you have? Okay.
Yes.
Boyce knows about reality TV. Dun, 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 dun. Well, the show, for those of you who don't know, features African-American women who are members of different sororities in, I think it's called the Divine Nine. I went to Howard University, which is the alpha chapter for many fraternities and sororities. So I'm not a member of a sorority, but I'm familiar with the respect and accolades and grooming process that goes along with becoming a member of a historic African-American sorority or fraternity. Now, this show depicts these women who are members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. I'm not sure if those are the only African-American sororities, but those are the three that are represented here.
You get Zeta Phi Beta, right?
Oh, yes, you have Zeta.
Yeah.
You know, and I do think Zetas are represented. I'm pretty sure they are too.
Okay.
So thank you for including that. Go boys. And the thing is that these sorority girls are not really depicted in the most flattering light. So to be fair, I'll share some of the highlights and some of the low points. One of the great things about this show is that they depict these women as entrepreneurs. They're in Atlanta, you know, the promised land for young African-American entrepreneurs. Many of them own businesses or have, you know, careers or dreams that they're pursuing in the Atlanta area. And it's awesome to see that. And that's kind of where the good stuff ends. What we see is a lot of infighting between sorority members. So members of the same sorority are being disrespectful and mean to each other. And then against each sorority. And in a way that's not good-natured, good-spirited, or even mature. Almost ridiculous. So it's received a lot of backlash from people because, remember, a lot of upper middle class African Americans are members of sororities and fraternities, and this is not how they want to be represented on television. They don't want to be seen as people who are immature and bickering, particularly when fraternities and sororities are supposed to help you get closer to your best self. And almost all of them are founded on the premise of service and having a high ethical standard and a great bond. So there's been a petition. People are asking for it to be taken off of VH1. Some sponsors have even pulled out, like Carmex, which is, they do like the lip balm and all of that, has said that they're not going to be affiliated with it.
Yeah, I think
But still,
Hallmark also backed out.
Hallmark also backed
and
out.
the film Selma, I think that they announced that they're not going to run their ads during the show. So there is some backlash there.
Right, but VH1 is still saying we're going to air the show. So what do you think, boys? I've watched it. It was entertaining, but it wasn't, you know, I grew up watching A Different World, right? So my impression of what Black life would be and Black sorority and fraternity life was very much shaped around watching that show. So for people who aren't familiar with the culture, their impression is going to be shaped by watching this show. And I'll tell you something, if my kids only got to see this, I don't think that they would want to be part of a sorority unless they wanted to slap box.
Well, you know, I think that it might make them not want to join, but at the same time, I think at the very least it might modify their expectations of what sorority life is supposed to be all about. And I think that there are people who have always been concerned about the increasing decline or decay of the culture of sororities and fraternities. You know, the Black community. You know, I would say 20, 25 years ago is very different from what you might say right now. And you know, and I think that what it might do, at the very least, is lead to kind of a call to contemplation for those who are seeking. I know, right? That's my term. You know, for those who are kind of seeking to redefine really what it should mean to join a Black Greek letter organization, because I think a lot of people are lost. So there are people, you know, who just think, oh, if I join that organization, I get to wear the colors, and and the parties are better, or you know what I mean. Maybe I get to live in the house if there is a house,
Right.
and I don't think anybody. I think a lot of people really are truly disconnected from what these organizations are supposed to be about, and so to some extent, this it almost seems like this show is kind of a spillover of that culture, just kind of saying, let's put the mirror on a segment of your population, so you can just kind of see how ridiculous some of you may look to the outside world.
Now, the other thing people are saying is when you look at shows like Basketball Wives or Love and Hip Hop, the black middle class didn't really get so upset when you saw other people, quote unquote, cooning, when you saw aspiring entertainers or strippers or whomever doing this. But, you turn that mirror, as you say, on people who are supposed to be a certain way, and there's a completely different response. What are your thoughts on that?
There's definitely some classism there. You have to point out that hypocrisy that if you assume that we are a cohesive community, which is, I think, a debatable issue. There are some people who see the divide. There are those who sort of see the world in a certain way in terms of education, wealth building, family building, etc., and then those who see it in a different way, and many of whom were maybe traumatized by the war on drugs or just kind of grew up in situations that were less than ideal. And so I think a lot of people always had this fascination with reality TV, where we turn on the TV and we see these people that where we kind of know them, but we kind of don't. They're kind of like these distant cousins, almost from another planet for some people, where it's like, why does he have so many tattoos? Why does she keep sleeping with him even though he has 14 girlfriends? Why, why did he shoot him over, a can of Pepsi? You know what I mean? Or why does he think that he's gonna be a big rapper, and that's why why he doesn't want to get a regular job? I think a lot of people look at that and they're like, whoa, they have this fascination, but at the same time, if you believe in a cohesiveness within the black community, you have to point out that hypocrisy that just says, wait a minute, are you concerned because now they're showing, people from your group in a way that doesn't make you comfortable, but also it's a show of power as well.
Absolutely.
I think that when you talk about lower class African Americans, if you want to use that term, lower class, or those who are in the struggle, urbanized, whatever you want to call it, there's not as much advocacy there. There is an effort by networks and an ability of networks to take advantage of that desperation that many people have. I so badly want to be, rebuild my rap career that I will get on TV and say and do any ratchet thing imaginable for your entertainment. Where really people don't understand that's really a minstrel show. You're really, as there's an AKA Maria Lloyd I did an interview with who called it Coonin for cash, and and it is, but so you flip that and you get to the black middle class, where there is more advocacy, there is more organization. There are people that are saying, no, you're not. Maybe you can portray certain black people in that light, but you're not going to portray my organization in that light, because we are an organization, which means we are organized, which makes us a more formidable force.
And with you saying that, there is something that the organization can do. They could galvanize and decide that this is something that's unacceptable for members. And if they don't want people who are members of the organization to do this in the future, that can be part of one of the membership requirements. One of the things that you said about classism really spoke to me. We assume that it's always poor people who are putting on the show. But the fact is, that's a stereotype. On all of these shows, whether it's Real Housewives of any city, Atlanta to Orange County, Married to Medicine, you have people from all classes and walks of life who want to be famous, who want to have access to the power and prestige, whether it's actual or perceived from being on television. One of the great things about sororities is that even though it's stereotyped to just be for the middle class, people of all walks of life join sororities and fraternities, and it's supposed to help you get closer to being a better person. Personally, when I was in high school, I met a member of a sorority at a laundromat. And I was actually able to be part of a ladies' grooming process. A lot of the sororities have different programs, and that helped me go to college. And I later received a scholarship from that sorority. And I grew up in a very urban environment, and I benefited from that. And the person who was a sorority member was from an urban environment as well. So, again, this stereotype that all sorority members and all black people are one way or the other, we're all enmeshed. So I think if we're going to advocate for African Americans to be perceived in one way or at least in multiple ways, we need to be consistent across the board. You know, let's not be hypocritical and say, you know, oh, Love and Hip Hop has to be this way, Sorority Sisters has to be this way, because the fact is, Ratchet is everywhere. And that's what makes good TV. Ratchet in Orange County, Ratchet in Beverly Hills, Ratchet in Atlanta. So
that is true. Ratchet can be everywhere, but you can't help but wonder if there is kind of a racism in Hollywood that, well, we know racism exists in Hollywood, but what if these were white sororities? I mean, what white counterparts are there out there really?
Right, but the thing is, there are shows like that. There's
like
all these shows on MTV, like, you know, Redneck this, and I don't watch those shows, but there was a country show on MTV that ultimately got canceled, and then another show called Redneck something on MTV that's currently on. The difference is that there's a diversity of image for mainstream Americans, right? So when we say mainstream, well, we mean white. So that show is just a glimpse, a slice of life. In our community, more of the shows, not all, but more of them are geared to showing a specific segment of the population or a specific behavior that has negative connotations. And that really is the problem.
Right. I think America has a fetish with urbanized Black America, right? They just, this, for men, it's kind of like, they enjoy the thug performance, more so than anything else. I know a lot of guys with PhDs and law degrees and stuff like that who wouldn't be interesting to a lot of these networks. But and so what's happened is, in a way, they've kind of skewed this power toward this thuggish image, and what you see sometimes is you see people who were probably meant to be something other than thugs, who put on the thug uniform and want to be in that light so they can get that opportunity to be famous, or to get a record deal, or to get on TV, or whatever, and so maybe there is a lack of responsibility just in general with a lot of these shows, but I think with Sorority Sisters, I don't know. I don't. Do you think the show's going to even survive? I don't.
As of now, it's still airing. When I watched the first episode, I had to say, again, I went to Howard University, Alpha chapter of most of the sororities and fraternities. None of the women that I knew on on campus were like any of these women. And I don't want to be condescending, because I also know that things are edited a certain way. But my experience was always about the sisterhood, professionalism, high ethical values, high moral standing, because everywhere you walk, you are representing this historic organization. It's supposed to make you better. It's supposed to make you step aside from some of the more mature things, because they're all in search of sisterhood and bonding. This show is not about sisterhood, even within the organization. So in terms of it being entertaining, yes. In terms of it supporting the values of these organizations, hell no.
Well, we'll see what happens. I can say that I didn't enjoy the idea of creating a show like this. But I in a way, I'm just I got my popcorn out. I'm just gonna sit back and watch it and see who wins the fight, because I think a lot of it's angering a lot of people that you see these continuous depictions of Black people, and there's not a rush to show Black people in any sort of humanized light. It's sort of like, entertain us, almost like little monkeys, dance again, do this again, do that again, do something to us, or do something for us that's going to make us exciting, and where we can continue to fantasize about you people and what we think you people do when we're not around. And I think a lot of people are getting tired of this. We don't have to be entertainers in order to be successful. In
a negative way.
Right.
And I have to say, people who don't like this kind of show, I suggest that they not only write in, but also support the shows that don't show Black people in that way. There are tons of them. Flex and Shanice, Deion Sanders' Family Life, or Playbook, that's on OWN. I remember T and Tamara had a great show on one of the female networks that got canceled, the Style Network. WeTV has great shows. They have Mary Mary. They have SWV. They have the Braxtons. They fight sometimes, but they don't fist fight that often. They have Tamar and Vince. They're great shows that depict us in a way that is respectful, dignified, and still entertaining. Tell them more of what we want and don't support what we don't want. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this issue. Please write in and let us know. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.